Hello, welcome to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Jones.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee DeMayo, your co-host. So happy you joined us today. Light, love, and blessings.
Now, typically I express how excited I am for each show, right, Dee Dee? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So today, I'm not excited. Today, I feel very determined to
Yes.
give our guests a voice about a very special and very serious matter. So today, we're going to be talking about missing and murdered Indigenous women, or as they kind of abbreviate it, MMIW. And these women, they go drastically underreported every year. And today we're going to speak to two women who are sounding the alarm about how far and wide this problem goes. So I feel I have this level of determination today, and Didi, I think you share that this is such an important show.
It's determination is an understatement for me. I have been so emotionally moved. It's almost like trauma because I want to cry, just grieve real hard in my soul because when we were looking at statistics and trying to find research and trying to find information, there hasn't been any legitimate supposed research or statistics posted for us to see, even in the US, since 2016. And to put it in the most clean statement I can, it makes me want to throw the hell up. I mean, my whole soul just aches about it. And I'm disgusted, disappointed, and angry. And
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. The latest number of known incidents of missing and murdered Indigenous, Native American, and Alaskan Native women is 5,712. And that was, you're right, that was in 2016. That was 5 years ago.
Yes, and that was just US states. There was one organization that tried to take a poll or statistics and research, and there's some place pointed in every state in the map, and they have some low number that they say they know is not even valid at 3,000, and I just, it's like, wow, so I think what we want to do, is bring people on the show that have experienced it, that know what they're talking about, that live it, that are involved in helping it and making changes, so we can get some true, facts, undisputable facts out there.
Exactly. And there's, and not only the numbers, but there's also not a lot of reporting. We'll get into that today. There's also not a lot of reporting from media.
Mhm.
So these very brave women are taking to social media and going on these different platforms so that they can have a voice and they can talk about it. And recently there's also been some legislative things that have been happening that are very positive around trying to make new things happen, like task force being put together. And because one of the biggest problems they've been having is jurisdiction issues
Mhm.
over who takes the case and who investigates the case. But then what happens after that, it's a lot of bureaucracy, and
Well,
that needs to stop.
yeah, but it's a two-edged sword there, because I know for a fact that if our federal government wanted to investigate something that involved our children going the other direction, they would leave no stone unturned. They would, be at war with um, whoever took the kids, and especially if they had a perpetrator to blame.
Right.
And if history shows anything, those that have been living in peace are the ones they're going to go after.
Hmm.
And because we don't, I don't know. I'm really emotional. It's going to be hard not to cry today because I'm
It's okay.
pissed off.
That's okay.
I
I mean,
mean,
it
I
it
mean, I
warrants
really
it
am.
warrants the rage, it
Yeah,
warrants the anger, and it warrants the emotion, and that's important. Like,
yeah.
especially for us women, we need to know that that's okay. And
Well, and collectively, it's one thing. Our guests are on waiting in the green room, and I just want to say that I ask forgiveness for our entire race that came in and just obliterated a culture, and they had to fight to even have a voice to do anything, as their Native American culture, Indigenous women to Canada, Mexico. It just, I don't know. I want to publicly apologize, and I will stand with y'all and do everything I can to help make it different. So having said that, Brandy, let's introduce our first guest, Brandy.
Absolutely. No,
Keep
that's
going.
great. Thank you for that, Dee Dee. Thank you for that. That was really heartfelt and beautiful. So we reached out to Brandy Jones to help us understand what's going on around this. And Brandy, she's our first guest. She's an Inuit artist and an outspoken activist originally from British Columbia, and she now resides in Canada. And Brandy's art represents the unity of all Indigenous nations and forms a unique style. She has a unique style all of her own. This is really, really, really different art and really different way of expression. So throughout her work, Brandy educates and inspires people to explore the beauty, hardships, perseverance, and successes of Indigenous people. And she's the illustrator of a children's book, which is called Crow Brings Daylight, due to release on April 23rd of this year. So I want to welcome you, Brandy, and then I also want to congratulate you on your new book.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I've worked so hard to get to this place. So give me one second. This day is not going exactly how I planned.
That's okay. We get it. We totally get it. Yes.
I didn't realize there was a little bit of a time difference today here. So
I don't know what happened, because when we checked it, we were exactly the same time. I'm
yeah,
thinking
yesterday we were.
I'm thinking our time change, maybe fall, spring, whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. It's nutty, but anyway, we're here, and as Brandy and I both agree that everything flows like it's supposed to. So even with the glitches, we will not be deterred. We will not be deterred from our goal and our passion of getting truth and news out there to our listeners and to learn more ourselves. So
Exactly. I mean, the show must
Absolutely.
go on. The show must go
Yeah.
on. So,
yes.
Brandy, we have so much to discuss today. So, first, I want to know, how did you get into this? How did you get into um, this movement, or this huge thing that this has become about missing and murdered Indigenous women?
So I got sober a couple years ago, and I really needed to find some meaning in my life. And I can remember just being at a young age and seeing these native guys on the street and stuff. And it's something that's always really touched my heart, especially because it's part of my culture. And I I don't know, I just couldn't not say anything anymore. I just saw, like, the more research that I started to do, because I really didn't know a lot about this a couple years ago. I don't think a lot of people did. But the more that I started to dive into it, and I started to look into the welfare system and residential schools and all this stuff, and I realized how much people actually didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and how many stereotypes there are about what people think. Because growing up, I don't know how many times I heard people tell me that my school was paid for, or how many times I've been assumed that I'm a single mother, like all of these different things. And I was like, like, I am ready to smash those stereotypes, and people need to hear this.
Well, I mean, you're a news statistic in that aspect. I always tell one of my friends, you've beaten the odds, and you're a news statistic, and you're going to be someone that can and shine a light, to what's possible. And again, that follows our goal as a show. What is possible? How can you live your best life no matter what's happened in the past? And I just can commend you, and I'm so happy that you decided to be on our show.
Oh, thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for inviting me. I'm so happy
Yeah.
to be here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brandy. And so we have a lot more to talk about, but before we do, I want to introduce our other guest, who is also equally, just surpasses her experiences, surpasses what I could even imagine what some of these women must go through. And so Aztec Charokeegirl, who's about to join us, is actually a survivor of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So she is here to share her experiences as a survivor and to tell us what happens in the underbelly of human sex trafficking. So, Aztec Charokeegirl, you're most welcome here today. Thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
So, before
I
we
was
get
just
into
going to
your
say
experience,
welcome. Yeah.
sorry, dude. But before we get into your experience, I would like to help others understand what missing and murdered Indigenous women is. So, maybe one or both of you could speak to it. Is it a movement? Is it an organization? Is it a group? What exactly is the phenomenon we're talking about today?
Epidemic.
It's what?
I said it's an epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's also there is also an MMIW movement too, and it's a huge movement out there.
Well, I noticed through research, there's a lot of organizations and stuff. And one of the things that brought it to my attention was the inundation of it on TikTok. And I was surprised at how much is covered there, you know. And I want to commend TikTok for letting it be aired and not censoring it. I think later in the show we'll talk about that. But, you know, that's how I found You Two Beautiful Women and just able to, you know, get it on our show.
Yeah, we're really wanting a lot of people to know and hear about this. So Aztec, how did you become one of the MMIW, and how did you survive it?
Well, when I was younger, I was raped by my own, and I've had to grow so fast because of what happened to me. So when I was about 5, my uncle raped me, and then later on in life, my other uncle actually put me down into the sex trafficking after my grandfather passed away. So he moved me over to California, said that I could have a better life, when in turn it was the worst experience ever.
Wow. And so, how old were you when that started?
I was about 19 or 20, so not that long ago.
Mm.
When it started or when you got out?
When I started.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then, so how long did it go on for?
3 years.
3 years. And so with that experience, I mean, how, and you're so brave for talking about it, first of all. You're so brave for coming out and so courageous for speaking about your experience. Not a lot of people are able to do that. And one of the reasons I think women are not able to do that is because there's a huge backlash around that and a stigma around it. How have you been able to overcome the experience that you had?
I've had a great support group. I've had a lot of people help me, and the time that it took me to heal myself has also helped.
Wonderful. Wow, that is great. How many women do you think that this is actually happening to? I mean, we have a very low number of the reported. So like the number is like, 5,000 or something like that. The number of known incidents of missing and murdered Indigenous women.
There's a lot more than that.
Right. Only 116 cases were logged into the Department of Justice database. I mean, when I heard that number, I was shocked. Just shocked. If you guys could estimate, what
Well,
is closer to the number?
Yeah, I know in Canada, like they estimate around 4,000, but it's like I know they only count status women. So the realistic number is probably much higher than that. And I've also tried to research like what it looks like across North America. And I know when we were talking to Aztec the other day, she said it even goes into Mexico as well. So the number really is so much higher than I think we actually even know about. And it's hard to even find statistics online. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world too.
Right.
It's so hard.
Brandy, what do you mean by status women? What does that term mean?
Can you just repeat that, sorry?
What do you mean by status women?
There's status and non-status. So that's people that hold a treaty card. I don't know if the terminology is maybe just a little bit different in the States, but so it just means the people that hold a status card and people that don't. So I remember coming across that and I was just blown away because I was like, you know, these numbers really aren't that correct when they put it. There's not even really, I think they're just coming up with a database in Canada now. And I think I might have read something about something in the States as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that it's hard for people to, even if they do the DNA testing and things like that and show that they are, you know, bloodline Native American or Indigenous to any, you know, heritage of that culture, you can't get a status card. I mean, you have to have had a record assigned to you way back when. I mean, I can prove, for example, you and I are cousins and not get a status card. It's like because I don't already have someone in the history marked that way. So
How does that work? How does someone get a status card?
I think you just have to be born into it, really, because there's a lot of people that were like, they measure it by something called blood quantum, which is also crazy. It judges how Indian you are. And also, like, there's been so many families to be split up as well. So there's people that have been taken by the 60 scoop. I think that there's some crazy thing if you marry a white man, you lose your Indigenous status as well. Like, there's so many different loopholes. And it's like, that's actually another stereotype too. People just kind of assume that that's something that you have as an Indigenous person. They think that you can get like cheaper smokes, like taxes off, all these crazy things. So
Wow.
it's crazy. I was just having that conversation with my friend. Her grandmother is half Native American, and because there's no status card or anything issued, there's nothing she can do about it. She should be, you know, like 1/4 or 1/8 or whatever, and there's nothing her family can do. So.
So all kinds of stuff is going on in my head about that. I mean,
I
you know,
know,
you
I
start
know.
giving people cards and it's like, well, you have it or you don't have it. It's kind of like what's going on right now with the vaccine cards, you know, some people get it and some people don't. What do you get if you get it? And what do you don't if you don't, right? This is a problem. This is a problem. So we're going to look more into that because that's very interesting. Okay, so what I understand sometimes about when children and people go missing, women go missing off reservations, sometimes there's a jurisdiction issue, as in like who is supposed to investigate. And a prime example is, and we kind of touched on this the other night when we all talked, is Mildred Alexis Old Crow. This was an 8-year-old girl who disappeared off the reservation. And the search for her started on November 19th of 2020, but she actually went missing, or from what I heard recently, she ran away on March of 2019. And the Montana's Department of Justice didn't issue that missing and endangered persons advisory for Mildred until November 2020. I mean, this is all you have of the story. Like, there's no, like, this is what happened to her. This was what happened with her parents and things like that. Is this the kind of thing that's indicative of what happens when women go missing or girls go missing? Aztec?
all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Well, Aztec, you know a little more about their personal history. Would you like to share some of that information, or?
So the ladies that actually had her were the family members, and they didn't take good care of her, and she ran away.
So how did she get reported missing as far as like someone that can't be found?
So she was actually reported missing 6 months later into November, and they didn't report her for many reasons because they weren't taking good care of her. She wasn't properly clothed, food, and they were abusing her, raping her, and other stuff like that.
So hearing that, it's like sometimes in cultures, it's like, you know, keep things behind closed doors. Surely someone knew that was happening to this little girl and just didn't speak out because it was not their business, or, you know, I guess what I want to do is call people to the mat, call you to action. You know, sometimes it's okay to be nosy. Sometimes it's okay to stick your nose in and get involved, especially where it's children. And my thing is, how dare you? How dare you let this happen right in front of your nose? I'm sorry. I got to call it like I see it. How dare you not say something when clearly this kid, unless she was never let out and under, just in a cage or something, someone knew she existed. Someone knew something was wrong.
Right.
You
So
know?
that brings up a really good point, also about the kind of foster care system, or not just foster, but the
The welfare
here,
system.
right,
Yeah.
the welfare system.
Yeah.
Here we call it, something a little bit different, but by the same nature, who are the people who are helping children and helping people in these situations? And my question is, because you got to ask, I'm sorry, but you do, are they being complicit, right? So Brandy, you've had a little experience with welfare system, or you have some information about that. Can you share what you know?
Well, there's 7% of the kids in Canada are Indigenous, and they make up half of the population in the welfare system. And I feel like it's all really connected, because these kids that end up in the welfare system, like the government cites, the reason that they take children from their homes is poverty, it's lack of food, adequate housing, and yet none of this is given on reserves. Children that are on reserves receive 30% less a child for their education. There's also so many Boyle advisories as far as water goes. So like a lot of these kids end up in the welfare system, and after they age out, so when they turn 18, they don't have the life skills. They're not connected to a community. So they are at risk for homelessness, harmful substance abuse, like sex trafficking, all of this stuff. And it's so sad. And a lot of these kids actually come from homes from survivors of residential school too. So it's like that family separation that was happening in residential school is still going on today. And there's still a cycle. It just has a different face on it. And it's so sad. And I think it really is all just connected. That's a huge problem, separation from families.
Well,
Yeah.
I can speak to the validity of the failure of the system that is supposed to be helping our children. A lot of them are taken for reasons that are just absurd. And the ones that are taken from their families, being a foster parent myself, and having experienced recently, a young girl that, she came in with the mindset that it was, that's how she would get along in the world, to prostitute herself, maybe not fully sexually, but she said she was bait, she was baiting herself to get out there. So she had already been groomed, and being through that cycle of the broken system, it just, she was high risk,
Oh, I think for a lot of people too, because I've actually done a lot of work like on the streets with street people, like giving out food and stuff like that. And I think for a lot of people, it's really a means of survival. They don't have any other way to live, and they don't have family to turn to, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all systems, I mean, in every single state here in the US, we find that's true, that it's very difficult to put a finger on where the real problem is, because there's problems everywhere, right? And it's a chain reaction of, well, this system didn't work, so let's try this, and that didn't work, so let's try that. And children are the ones that get caught in the middle and aren't getting what they need. So I have a real question about this. I've seen your TikToks, Brandy, Aztec. I've seen some of your TikToks too, and I've seen a couple with the male or the masculine element in it, but I really want to know, where are the men? Are men's voices raising up like the women's? Because in the way that I think, especially about Indigenous culture, it's the men who step up and support and protect their women. Is that happening on the reservation, or and are they being suppressed or oppressed? So what's happening? Where are their voices?
So a lot
Go
of them
ahead.
are actually
Go
stepping
ahead,
up.
Aztec.
Go.
Go ahead, Aztec.
So all the men are actually stepping up lately and being warriors and actually spreading our voices out there and helping with MMIW.
Yeah, I'd like to invite some of those men, elders, young, young men on any reservation or any, whether they live on reservation or not. I want to hear from y'all. Let's do a show with y'all's voices and let us know how you can help. And I'm calling y'all out.
Absolutely. One of the real disturbing things that I found, and this is not targeted directly at men, but listen, the fact is the fact, okay? This is what happens, okay? When I was researching online, some of the things I uncovered was a trend where when oil and gas pipeline workers come in or near reservation, not in, but near reservation land and protected land, the number of missing women rises.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's men who work on these pipelines. That's just the way, that's the facts. Mainly majority are men, white men too, men from all cultures. I think, they hire from whoever or wherever
Mm-hmm.
to bring people in to work on these pipelines. Do you guys see that's true? I mean, do you think that has some validity, that maybe women are going missing or being taken whenever
Mm-hmm.
these pipelines come?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like the numbers, they've actually it's been proven that the numbers of missing cases go up, and a lot of these guys are into the drug scene and alcohol, and they're just there for a little bit.
That's right. I mean, in oil and gas, it's huge. I already know, the sex and the drugs and the alcohol. I know my stepfather worked in oil and gas for many years, and
Mm-hmm.
he had drug and alcohol issues, and he had to work through that. Thank God, he's clean and sober now, and has been for over 25 years. But it's not easy being in that industry, and it's everywhere because there's so much money. Where there's money, there's going to be sex, there's going to be drugs, there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be
Yeah.
alcohol. That is the nature of, unfortunately, our society, our culture.
Well,
Um,
I think that's like one reason why so many people are also like against those caps too. Like they do not want them coming around anymore.
Hmm.
I
Maybe,
understand.
I mean, I'm pro shutting down the majority of those things because
Mm-hmm.
the damage it does to the world and to our, water and things like that. And in the meantime, I think the federal government needs to give permission for the Native Americans or Indigenous to have border guards.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your ass out of here. We don't want
Yeah.
you here.
Right.
I'm sorry, because they need to protect
Mm-hmm.
their people,
Yeah.
and I'm going to claim they need to protect my people because
Right.
they're here.
Mm-hmm.
They're women, so they just need to knock it off and
Exactly.
allow people to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just made a comment. Victoria made a comment. She said, "Follow the money."
Yeah.
Always,
Mm-hmm.
always. Where you see crime, the money will be right there.
Mm-hmm.
So when in the same, reverse is true. Like wherever you just got to follow that money trail, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
find out who's complicit. You'll find
Mm-hmm.
out who's being the perpetrators, like time and time again. But people need to do their own research, because guess what? It's not going to be handed right there to you on a platter,
Mm-mm. No.
because it is big business and it's big money. Speaking of which, so there are people out there in the world who don't want this information to get out. So
True.
you guys are extremely brave. You ladies are extremely brave for speaking up and speaking out. And what I understand is recently is that you've been censored on some of your social media platforms. Why do you think you guys are being censored?
I don't know, Aztec. You said you were blocked right now on one.
Yeah, I'm actually shadow banned on TikTok right now. And
Why?
that's because they don't want our voices being heard.
What did you say specifically that they didn't like?
They don't like the natives speaking out against the oppressors.
Oppressor. So did you name names? Did you point fingers? Is that what they didn't like?
We don't point fingers. We just say that we don't like what people are doing.
And they banned you for that.
Yeah. Especially with me being MMIW, I post a lot about that, and every time I post too much, they start shadow banning me.
Wow. So they keep track, because I know you use the hashtags and stuff like that to link it so people are able to look and research what's going on in those topics. And I just, in the United States, I'm having an issue with YouTube over one of our videos, and they're censoring and denying us, what is it, our Second Amendment right to freedom of speech, or is that first? I'm all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank first. And for our freedom of speech, and the fact that they have an opinion, like they said, the World Health Organization or whatever. Well, the World Health Organization doesn't get to tell me what to say. I'm blatantly just going to flat say that right now. No other organization gets to tell me what to say when it's not harming anyone, period. So that's why we're stepping out and supporting y'all too with this show. The truth needs to be brought out, and
it really does.
Whether it's painful or ugly, it needs to be talked about. It's like people denying, things that happened to the Jewish people in Auschwitz. Oh, that didn't really happen. Yeah, it really did, and you can't make it not so just because you don't want to see the facts that are right in front of your face.
Absolutely.
So.
And this is part of the Great Awakening. What's been incredible about COVID-19 lockdowns and all these other things that have been happening is this great awakening. People are opening their eyes to what the truth really is. And it comes in different forms. It can slap you upside the head. It can sneak in like, hey, what about this thing over here? But what's amazing about it is, as one consciousness, we're going to talk about this more next week, because this is a part 1 and part 2 series. There's so much information here about MMIW, so we had to do 2 parts. This is part 1. Next week is going to be part 2, but I'm going to touch on it a little bit. But we are one consciousness. We are one people. And that is the foundation of what Native Americans and Indigenous people. I don't even like to say Native Americans. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I don't even think that is the correct term anymore. I'm going to say, Indigenous tribesmen, Indigenous people, Indigenous, because they were here first. They were here first. And what I truly believe about them is, you guys, they say in the Bible, the meek or the weak will inherit the earth. I think they will come back home, right? They will come back home, and not that they ever left, but the people of this world will realize and wake up to how important Indigenous women, Indigenous men, Indigenous children are to our world. And this is part of that awakening too. So I'm in awe just to be able to talk about this subject. So I want to talk about, because Aztec, you brought up such a great point at one time when we were discussing this, and you said, we need to talk about the first stolen sister, and talk about the first stolen sister and who that is and what really happened.
So her real name is actually Manawaka, and she was actually 9 years old when she was taken from her tribe, and she was forced into marriage and forced to change her religion. And then she was also created around England.
And we know this through history and through stories we won't name, who created the movie, as Pocahontas.
Right.
We won't call out that industry just at the moment. But yeah, we know that story as Pocahontas. So, I mean, how can someone do research and find those facts? What would we look for? Is there a book that's written or something that we can reach and get and pass down to our children as a truth?
So you can always type in her real name, which is Manawaka, and facts will come up.
Okay.
As who the real girl was.
Okay, and where is she now? I mean, we talked about that too. What's happening right now as far as
Her
what the movement?
her remains are actually in England.
Mm.
They
And
have not
they,
been home.
And they're not home.
Nope.
And this is such an important aspect, an important piece, because the history books romanticize that whole story, and even I'll say it good, but even Disney, right,
okay.
with a little story, romanticize that narrative. Narrative's a big word now. So yeah, Brandy's on mute, but she's trying to
What'd
say
you
something.
say? What'd you
Oh,
say?
I said it's actually a story about a pedophile taking a child and sex trafficking. That's the
And
real story. That's the
that's
truth
right.
of it.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's romanticized in a way that makes it completely acceptable and makes it really cute and sweet. But Disney is notorious for taking something horrific and turning
Mm-hmm.
it into a beautiful story. Every single story that Disney tells to our children is about parents who either weren't there, who died, or a child leaving the parents because at a young age, because they needed to find themselves or whatever, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a problem with in some cases, but I think the romanticizing of that is very dangerous.
Can I just touch on something really
Yeah.
quickly?
Please.
Because I remember when we were talking yesterday, it's just that the truth is so extremely important now. Like we were even talking about the difference in words being used as like opposed to being a protester to being a water protector. Like I think people just really want the truth out where people can see it. We're tired of it being swept under the rug like it's not happening. The fact is there's so many atrocities that have happened, and I think people just want to be acknowledged,
Mm-hmm.
and that's so extremely important, especially like having a story about a little, what did you say, Aztec, 9-year-old girl being stolen, and then to make it into this big romantic story about how they fell in love and she followed him overseas, like it's just not the truth, you know.
No, I have a feeling, recapping even just the story, if you take and look between the lines, she wasn't, she didn't willingly go. She probably was traded to save the rest of everybody's life. That was their peace trade or whatever. I know a lot of the movies and things we watch, and even in history, it was about the Indians, or Native American people being so giving. Well, yeah, they had to survive. And what did it cost them?
Mm-hmm.
Women, young men to work in slavery. And it just, I don't know. Like I said, I constantly just want to throw up. I'm so mad about the whole situation. And it wasn't that this is new to me or not, I hadn't known. It's just, I'm just riveted with devastation over how much is not known. It's just disgusting. I'm
Right.
sorry. Oh,
It is, Dee. It's very
I'm sorry.
emotional.
I'm using so many negative terms, but they just don't cover it. I'd really like to let a plethora of Navy cuss words come out. I'm that mad, you know. But I'm trying my best not to
You're
get
holding
our.
back, Dee Dee. You're
I
doing good.
am. Look, let me just get on my. I want brass knuckles and gloves, and I want to beat the proverbial hell out of people that don't do something. I do. It just makes me that mad.
Listen, it's
Mm-hmm.
time. I mean, it's okay to get angry. In fact, we should be getting
Mm,
angry. We should be rising up as a people.
Mm-hmm.
This is the
Absolutely.
time to do it. This is the time to do it. We talk about as metaphysical people, the Aquarian age is about really bringing in the truth and
mhm.
bringing in the Aquarian is the water bearer, right? We talk about
Yes.
water protector. The
Yeah.
Aquarian is the water, but the Aquarian age is about bringing in flow and bringing in the divine feminine and allowing change. And sometimes, and even Victoria mentioned this too in her comments just recently, changes, sometimes awakenings can be painful.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who's going to inflict some of that pain? Listen.
Yeah.
It's going to be the
I
mamas and the
yes.
papas and the grandfathers and the grandmothers, because, and I'm not an advocate of violence,
Mm-mm.
really, ever. You know, I'm a lover and a fighter, but I'm a fighter when what I love is worth fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes,
really
and
that
yeah,
simple.
Mm-hmm.
it's to the death for me. I mean, that's how fearless my soul was just created to be. Like, yeah, bring it, okay? Because all you're gonna do is kill the body, whatever. I'm gonna come
Oh,
back
I
and
hear that.
I'm gonna come back and haunt you. You will regret that. so,
Yeah.
so I know
Yes.
there was something on my mind we wanted to talk to Aztec about real quick, and I it just flipped my mind talking about that. But
Well, that's while you're thinking about that, I have a question about something. So I'm, my realm of expertise is beliefs and what
mm,
people believe and what cultures believe. For this question is for both of you. Fundamentally, indigenous people on the reservations, like what do you think they're believing about what's happening to their women?
let's
What is in their minds about what's really happening?
let's do Aztec first, so I can put her mic on. Go ahead.
So a lot of people believe that they are going missing because the people on the oil industries coming on the reservations and stealing our women.
What about within the culture itself? Like when things happen, when abuse happens, or when things happen within the culture, are the people who are not perpetrators, are they saying we got to do something about what's happening here? I mean, I would think they are, but I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
So they're rising up and collectively becoming a voice and a
Yeah,
group, and people that are bringing awareness within, and
yeah.
not just hiding it anymore. And it's just because it's such a heavy experience, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what I really feel? I asked the question earlier, where are the men? But when I asked that particular question, what I feel is the energy of the younger generation. I feel the younger men saying, we need to stop this. We need to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sure what to do yet. They still feel like they want to go one way. They're not cohesive in what they're believing, because we're still at the awareness stage. We're still
Mm-hmm.
letting people know that this is happening, and I think it's a cry for help too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're saying, listen, we can't do this by ourselves. We need help, because these oppressors have been doing this for so long and it's been perpetuated, that we need the help of people like me and Dee Dee. We need the people like Brandy and Aztec. Get the
Mm-hmm.
word out, and then collectively, when we come together, let's figure out how to handle this.
Yeah. What have you noticed, Brandy, on as far as within your culture in Canada? How is it perceived internally, and what's being done?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, it was hard for me to keep quiet there actually, because
That's okay.
I just finished watching um, this article on Winnipeg, because Winnipeg is like one of the most violent cities in Canada, and we actually there they have like the highest statistics of missing murdered Indigenous women. So what I have noticed is that Indigenous people themselves, because we're not receiving the help, they're stepping up to do something. Like there's one group called Drag the Red that was started in 2014, and it's literally a group of people that go along the Red River in Winnipeg and have homemade tools to drag for bodies on the bottom of the river. That's where Tina Fontaine was found. She was a 15-year-old girl. And then there's also a what is it called? It was started by James Favel, Bear Clan Paw Patrol, and it's a community safety patrol where they go out and they patrol themselves to see what's happening. There's also a midnight medicine walk that they do, and this is to acknowledge women that have been exploited as well. So I think that as far as Indigenous people here are concerned, is very systematic. Like I said, it has to do with like the welfare system and everything, and it's just there's so many different layers to it. That's really a loaded question, Brandy.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I asked it.
Mhm.
Because and I appreciate your answer, both of you. I appreciate your answers because this is why I started out with this is how big and how deep and wide this is. It's systemic. It's been happening for a long time. It's hidden. And all lives are valuable. All
Mhm.
lives are valuable. And if we
Mhm.
all believe that collectively, and so that's one of the things we're going to do some theta in a little bit. And I think we need to be able to connect with our highest power, our higher power, our highest power, and really make a conscious effort to raise our consciousness. And
Mhm.
once we raise the consciousness, we will know what to do. We will know how to proceed. And energetically speaking, it's not that difficult, but because of the oppression and suppression, it's been very hard for people to see beyond, like, I can't get past this barrier.
Mhm.
And we're going to work on that in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because you asked the question earlier and we talked about it, the men and the young men being involved. And as far as protection, something we talked about yesterday, just as a prelim, was the fact that not only is it the women that this is happening to, it's our young men
Mhm.
or the Native American and Indigenous young men as well. And I just really, I want to hear from y'all as a person that cares. How can we help? And also, what would you like to share, and how would you like to bring your story out as young men that are experiencing this in the Indigenous population?
Yeah. I want to know, Brandy, you're an amazing artist. And I want both of your interpretations of this because I know it might seem like it's the same, but everybody's perspective has so much value. What is the symbolism of the red hand that is depicted across the face? This is the symbol for what in MMIW?
Mhm. I believe it's the color that connects us to the spirit world. Aztec, is that?
Yeah, we're talking about that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the symbol of the victim and the survivor and everything, isn't that correct? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Aztec, what is it? Can you unmute her? I want to
Yeah.
ask her about it.
Oop. It's not unmuting. Do you have it
Uh-oh.
muted on your end, Aztec?
Oh, maybe she can't hear us.
Aztec.
Is she frozen right
I
now?
think
Oh, maybe she's frozen.
she's frozen.
Yeah, because
Wow.
that's the gist of what I've found out about the symbolism is that it's the color that connects us to the spirit world.
Mm,
Um, yeah.
that's
Well, I know also
profound.
the victims and the survivors and family members and people that are starting to raise awareness on a more solid platform. We wear red, so
Mhm.
you had asked us to wear red today for the show, so it's
Mhm.
symbolic of the spirits and the people. We just lost
Okay.
Aztec, something with her internet. Hopefully, she'll log back in.
Okay.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. Yay.
There you
Sorry,
are,
lost
Aztec.
connection.
That's okay. So you want to re-ask that question?
Yeah, so Aztec, we were talking about the symbology of the red hand across the face, that one right there, as it depicts, what does it mean to you, and what does it mean for MMIW?
So it means solidarity. It means we are coming together as one to help MMIW. We're standing up for those that lost their voice.
Mm. Standing up for those that lost their voice. That is beautiful. That
Yeah.
is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. So what else did I want to ask about today? So we have a so I want you to hang in there with us because we have a really special treat for you towards the end of our show. We're gonna hear and see something really, really soulful, and I don't want you to leave just yet. But I want people to know how can they reach you guys? Like how can people reach you guys if they want to talk more about this subject, if they want to know more about it? How can you be reached? Aztec, let's start with you.
I can be reached on TikTok with my Aztec Charokeegirl name.
Okay.
Okay, and
Super.
Clapper app, I'm not familiar with that, but some people, I guess, use that. It's also the same Aztec
Yes, it
Charokeegirl.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Beautiful. And you've got lots of TikTok like information on there that people can dive into, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yes, I
Awesome.
do.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Brandy, how about you? How can people get in touch with you?
Can I just say first, please don't message me on TikTok. I can't handle
No,
I can't handle that mailbox.
No
But
problem.
if you do want to get a hold of me, messaging me through Facebook or Instagram is a good way to go, and it's always under Brandy Jones Indigenous Artists. And also on my YouTube, I've also started archiving like Indigenous film, stuff about murdered, missing Indigenous women, like pretty much anything Indigenous. I've started making just archiving stuff that I come across. So
Wonderful.
Yeah, real quick, I want to talk about an organization that I found during research that I really think is valid information. They have an event coming up. I'm going to put their name up here first. It's National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, and they have an event coming up in starting April 29th, and they're going to be creating a whole national week of action for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And I just invite y'all to check this website out, check out their information. There's a resource link there that I found that just it was so much information and so helpful. There's uh, um, ways to create flyers. I mean, they give you everything step by step, who to contact. It also talks about the jurisdiction areas. Who do you contact where you're at? And this is, specifically in the United States. I know there's organizations in Canada that if you reach out to Brandy Jones, she's going to be able to help you and guide you to some trusted organizations and resources that can help. That if you donate and help with funds, they're going to, it's going to be used for the right cause and exactly what they say. So National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, and that's niwrc.org for their website.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Dee Dee. I'm going to speak for Dee Dee too on this one. We feel really called to get involved with this organization, with these groups, because it speaks to our heart and speaks to our soul. We're Dee Dee is, to me, a shaman at heart. I mean, she has the Indigenous spirit inside of her. I am part Mayan. So it's in my blood, and what's great, and I appreciate Aztec. She said, well, Mayans also have been shown to have background from, or bloodlines from, Aztec and Inca, right?
Yep.
And I didn't even know that. And I'm not getting my blood tested. Nobody's touching my blood. My blood stays in my body. I'm very, very protective over this body, because this is the vehicle for my spirit. And so I feel very strongly about that. I don't let anybody put anything in me that without my permission. Let me just say that. So what we feel really called to get more involved in this, and we will continue the conversation. I am also co-lead for an organization called Women of the World Network. And so I'm going to be reaching out to whoever would like to represent MMIW. I don't know if you ladies have time. If you don't, that's fine. I find somebody else to come into our meetings and talk about this to other women. They don't know. I'm telling you, they don't know that this is happening, and they need to know, because you're our sisters. They are our sisters. And this is an important part of being a woman and being a human. So I feel really strongly about this. I'm really happy that you guys came on today to speak and to let your voices be heard and be known. And the last thing I want to say and talk about, and we're going to do a little theta around this, is what do we need to believe collectively as a people, as human beings, to change what's happening with these missing women, missing and murdered Indigenous women? What do we all need to believe?
I think that these women need recognition as human beings, and to stop victim blaming. because that never, ever makes anything better. And then also just to smash the heck out of those stereotypes, because so many of the ones that I've heard, they're just ridiculous and they're not true. And it's like, we need to stop speaking about things that we don't know, you know, like things that we've just heard and passing that on. Like if you're curious about something, for me, I could have been a scientist with how many questions that I ask. I think it used to frustrate people actually, but I have started to really love that about myself. And if people would just ask more questions, I think that's just really, really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Aztec, what do you
Mhm.
think? What do we need to believe collectively as a people to stop this?
That we need to come together so we can work as one to get MMIW stopped.
Mhm.
I would like to add that we believe we're all one.
Mhm.
One soul, one heart, one body from one creator. That
Unity.
no one is separate, and
Mhm.
our pain, our loss is all ours.
Mhm.
That's right. Beautiful.
Can I just say one more thing actually too? Like I think that it's absolutely imperative what you guys are doing too, because you guys are asking about it. You guys want people to know about it. And so that you guys are just like putting the truth out there. And that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful things happen when the truth is told.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
That's
you.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's beautiful.
So I'm going to do theta real quick. Theta healing is a meditation. It's a healing technique to shift beliefs. So those of you who are listening, who are watching today, if you want to incorporate the beliefs that we can stop victim shaming, that we are unified, that we are one, we can come together, that it's possible, that it's not only possible but probable and inevitable that we're all going to be on the same page with eradicating death and destruction and criminal behavior. Like we just have to let it all go. So if you want that, all you have to do is say yes out loud, and we are going to just let it go. Everybody want that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, good.
Yes.
So just
Yeah.
breathe and relax just a moment. Allow a change, allow openness, allow freedom. Wonderful. Good. Breathe in and breathe out. Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Wow. I just saw a beautiful red river of tears and blood, flowing out of our consciousness, out of our world, and just moving away from what we are and what we've been doing. That was really, really powerful. So we have a special treat. We have a really amazing thing for you guys. For the close of the show today, we would like to share a beautiful gift of art with you. An inspiring poem that was written by Brandy, who's the poet?
Marilyn Dumont.
Marilyn
Yeah,
Dumont.
she's a writer. Yeah.
And it's just going to be recited by Brandy Jones. And the art is by various Indigenous artists. So thank you guys so much. We're going to close the show with that. Brandy, thank you so much. And Aztec, thank you so much for being here today, for your strength. May you always be protected and supported. We want many blessings for you both and for your families and for your future generations. And
Thank
we
you
want to
guys too.
You're welcome. And
Yeah.
we want to thank you all for listening and for watching today. Please spread this and shine a light on this deep, dark horror that's been happening to our brothers and sisters. And we can't let it continue. I know you guys are gonna join us as the little one comes through. I love it.
All right.
Perfect timing.
And we'll start our show. Bye, everyone.
Namaste.
See you guys.
A poem of the power of women and loss of power by Marilyn Dumont, That Kind of Belonging. If we are pictured too easily, it's because we're a generation of ingredients folded in a sorted recipe. Our female relatives aware. Brown flour and salt women know intimately the look of reproach and desire some men hold for us. Our piercing cheekbones alert dark eyes, while our warm olive skin in a certain light unsettles them. Threatens their ambitions if they take us anywhere but the back seat of a Chevy. If we are pictured too easily a certain kind of woman, it's because our demigration started long ago. A tradition of gentlemen explorers, fur traders, company men, investing little more than the fickle heart of commerce in our company. So that now, when a 12-year-old Indian girl is raped in Saskatchewan, or when an Indian woman is set on fire in Edmonton, or when many Indian women disappear on a pig farm in Port Coquitlam, our skin too crawls from their violation. And we breathe heavy and air with death song, while our grandmothers rattle the doors of justice.